Hare Krishna, everybody. So Sridhar Prabhu's presentation is going to be very long and very fast. So stay tuned. Go ahead, Sridhar Prabhu.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वां पदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागन रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सागना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम रामा हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिके। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रये। Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Mataji's, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Seeking the blessings of Guru and Gauranga. Thank you for giving me this opportunity in presenting Srimad Bhagavatam Q&A Bank for Canto 1, 2, and 3. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental science of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam is a science not only for knowing the ultimate source of everything, but also for knowing our relation with Him and our duty toward perfection of the human society on the basis of this perfect knowledge. I will just go chapter by chapter, and wherever there are questions, I will just highlight those. So if you look at, this is a conversation, how we should inquire from a guru. So throughout these chapters, the rishis assembled at Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi, follow the process of submissive inquiry that is said by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshayenti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So we should inquire submissively from a spiritual master. And similarly, there are various contexts wherein Parikshit Maharaj inquires with Sukadeva Goswami and Sukadeva Goswami, how Narad Muni inquires from Lord Brahma, how Vyasadeva inquires from Narada Muni, and how Lord Brahma inquires from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And similarly, Vidura also inquires with Maitreya Muni. So how, as a disciple, and if we need to get the knowledge from our lineage, so that is the context that we should be understanding. We should always hear from a right source and surrender unto a bona fide spiritual master and render service to the spiritual master. So that is the main purpose where the conversation of the question and answers go on. And similarly, Devahuti, even though she's the mother of Kapiladev, how she inquires from Kapiladev also would be dealt in Canto 3. So I will just give brief about the chapters, and I may not be able to pinpoint the exact sloka numbers, wherein for some of them I have, but for most of them I may not. So wherever that is possible, I will highlight the verse and the answer as well. And I may not be able to share the spreadsheet. I would share that spreadsheet in a separate I will share it with Prabhuji, and then he can share it with all, because I have not completed all the question and answers mapping of the verses as well. Okay. So chapter 1 is the questions by the sages. And in this particular chapter, there are 6 questions that the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi, asked to Suta Goswami. So, and the first question that has been asked is, what is the absolute and ultimate good, Shreya, for people in general? So the response given by Suta Goswami is, after describing that devotional service to Sri Krishna was the essence of the scriptures, Suta Goswami explains that the ultimate benefit for people in general is to become free from material bondage and develop love of God. That is, bhakti is the key essence of this particular response to this question. Question 2 is, what is the essence of all scriptures? And throughout the second chapter of Bhagavatam, Canto 1, and especially in 6 and 7, and which continues until 28 shloka, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is confirmed as the only object of worship, and establishing one's lost relationship with him in love and service through devotional services, proclaimed as sum and substance of the Vedic literatures. And question number 3 is, tell why Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared. And the response given by Suta Goswami is, to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. And the 4th question is, tell us of the acts of Lord performs in relationship to creating the material world. And the response is in the first canto, second chapter, 30 to 33, wherein the Bhagavatam explains how Vasudeva creates the material substance and enters into as the Purusha incarnations. In addition, Canto 3 and 4 also explain the creation of the universe. Question number 5 is, describe the activities of the incarnations of the Lord. The Lord incarnations are described within chapter 3 of the first canto. Descriptions of the incarnations are expanded throughout the remainder of Srimad Bhagavatam. The 6th question is, where have religious principles gone after Lord Sri Krishna's disappearance from this planet? Suta Goswami answers this question by quoting Canto 1, Chapter 3, 43rd verse, wherein the Lord Vyasadeva says, this Bhagavata Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. And the second chapter is very, very important. That is where the crux of most of Bhakti Yoga is being dealt with. And Suta Goswami first, and the title is Divinity and Divine Service. Suta Goswami first offers his obeisances to his guru, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, and then begins answering the sages' questions. So whatever the responses that I have just quoted, so they are elaborated in the second chapter. Suta explains Lord Krishna's position as beyond the modes of material nature, and therefore instructs that those serious about liberation worship only the Lord Krishna. For the Lord is the supreme goal of life. This chapter ends with Suta Goswami's description of how the Lord, although transcendental to the material world, first creates the material world and then maintains his creation. And chapter 3 is titled as Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So Suta Goswami describes the 3 roles of Purusha avatars in the creation of both the total cosmos and the individual universes. And then Suta Goswami briefly describes the 22 incarnations of God that appear within this universe. However, explains that Lord actually has unlimited incarnations. Although innumerable incarnations exist, Krishna is their fountainhead and is a supreme personality of Godhead. And it is quoted in verse 28 of the 3rd chapter. Ete chamsa kalapamsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swam. That is what is the reference. And Suta Goswami then glorifies the Srimad Bhagavatam as the incarnation of Lord Krishna, meant for delivering the conditioned souls of Kali Yuga. He also describes how the Bhagavatam was transferred from Srila Vyasadeva to Sukadev Goswami and then to Suta Goswami. And chapter 4 is titled as the appearance of Srila Narada. And Saunaka Rishi inquires from Suta Goswami about the history of Sukadeva Goswami speaking the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. And Suta begins retelling how Vedavyas compiled and edited the Vedic literatures for the benefit of unfortunate souls of Kali Yuga. And even after his great work was complete, Vedavyas still felt dissatisfied. Just as he was contemplating the cause of his despondency, his spiritual master Narada Muni appeared. Chapter 5, Narada's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. Narada Muni, fully understanding the situation, inquires from Vyasadeva about the root cause of Vyasa's unhappiness and hints about the solution. Srila Vyasadeva requests his spiritual master Narada to reveal to him the cause of his despondency. Narada then reveals to Vyasa the importance of directly describing the glorious pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. And he also tells him the dangers that cloud arise due to Vyasa's previous writing about the various Vedic Vedanta Sutras, which only indirectly hint at the glories of the Lord. Narada then tells Vyasa about the secure position of a devotee serving Lord Krishna. After describing the Lord as both impersonal as well as personal, Narada asks Vyasa to vividly and directly describe the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. Narada then explains to Vyasa how he, through the association of great Bhakti Vedantas in his previous life, became fixed in the confidential devotional service of the Lord. And Narada glorifies working in Krishna's service while remembering his glories. After glorifying transcendental sound, Narada then requests Vyasa to directly glorify the Lord's activities for the benefit of suffering humanity. Chapter 6 is titled as Conversation between Narada and Vyasa. Vyasadeva inquires from Narada about how he passed his life after the departure of the sages. Narada describes that after his mother was bitten by the poisonous snake and died, he began traveling. Once, as he sat beneath a banyan tree, he began meditating on the Lord in the heart. As Narada Muni meditated, the Supersoul first appeared to Narada Muni and then departed. And Narada Muni was grief-stricken. The Lord then spoke to Narada, and his words dispelled Narada's grief. After recounting his meeting with the Supersoul, Narada tells Vyasa how he spent the remainder of his life. Narada then describes his next birth as the great sage Narada Muni. Vyasadeva then hears of the transcendental activities that Narada Muni now continuously performs. Narada Muni finishes his instructions to Vyasadeva, and Suta Goswami narrates the departure of Narada. Suta Goswami then describes Narada's glories. Chapter 7, The son of Drona punished. Shaunaka Rishi inquires from Suta Goswami about Vyasa's activities after Narada's departure. Suta first describes Vyasa's meditation and how through his meditation, Vyasadeva perfectly understood the Lord, the living entity and the Lord's material energy. Vyasa, in order to save the conditioned souls from misery, then compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam and taught to his son Sukadeva Goswami. Shaunaka then asks Suta why Sukadeva, who was already on the path of self-realization, took the trouble to study Bhagavatam. Suta Goswami replies that even liberated souls are attracted to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Suta Goswami begins answering Shaunaka's earlier questions about Lord Sri Krishna, Maharaj Parikshit, and the Pandavas. He begins by explaining that Ashwadhama, the son of Arjuna's martial teacher Dronacharya, killed the 5 sleeping Pandava princes after the battle of Kurukshetra. Ashwadhama flees after his heinous crime, and Arjuna sets out to capture him. Ashwadhama tries to escape by using his Brahmastra weapon on Arjuna. When Arjuna sees the glaring Brahmastra threatening him, he prays to Sri Krishna, who is driving his chariot, and then follows Krishna's instructions about counteracting the fearful weapon. Arjuna neutralizes the Brahmastra and then captures and binds Ashwadhama. Krishna then tells Arjuna that Ashwatthama should be killed. Arjuna brings Ashwatthama back to the Pandava camp. However, Draupadi and other Pandavas are appalled to see Ashwatthama, the son of their teacher, bound with ropes. And Bhima, alone amongst the Pandavas, demands Ashwatthama to be killed for his horrendous misdeed. Krishna hints at the solution, and Arjuna, understanding Krishna's desire, both kills and not kills Ashwatthama by cutting off the jewel from Ashwatthama's head. Then, after releasing Ashwatthama, Arjuna and Pandavas perform the funeral rituals for their relatives who have been slain in the battle of Kurukshetra. Chapter 8 describes the prayers of Queen Kunti. I will just not go in detail in this particular chapters. I will just, so this is where Queen Kunti prays to Lord Krishna, how he saved the Pandavas and Queen Kunti, and how she wants to cut all the relations and only concentrate upon the Supreme Lord. Chapter 9 talks about the passing away of Bhishma Deva in the presence of Lord Krishna. Maharaj Yudhishthir, overwhelmed by the death of his kinsman, approaches Krishna in a dejected mood and is filled with lamentation. Yudhishthira, Krishna and the Pandavas go to battlefield where Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows. Many great rishis also arrive, and Bhishma Deva properly receives them all, especially Lord Krishna, for Bhishma is aware of his glorious position. And Bhishma tells Maharaj Yudhishthir about how he should perform his duty. And he instructs to Maharaj Yudhishthir. And seeing Lord Krishna present before him, Bhishma Dev passes, breathes his last breath. Maharaj, after the sages and the Pandavas depart, Yudhishthira begins ruling the kingdom according to the instructions he has received from Bhishma Dev. Chapter 10 is titled as Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka. So this is where after Lord Krishna starts departing to Dwaraka. And over here, if we look at the ladies appreciate their fortune in seeing the Lord and the creator of the universe, who is usually only seen by great pure devotees and who mercifully descends to the material world in different ages. The ladies then describe the glories of the land in which Krishna descends, as well as the great fortune of the wives of Krishna, who so intimately relate with him. The Lord accepts the prayers of the ladies and leaves Hastinapur for Dwaraka. Chapter 11 is titled as Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwaraka. So, Krishna reaches Dwaraka and blows his conch shell, which heralds the citizens to gather before the Lord. And the transcendental character of the Lord and the spiritual nature of Krishna's relationships with his queens are described in this particular chapter. Chapter 12 is birth of Emperor Parikshit. The sages of Naimisharanya turn their questions back to topics about Maharaj Parikshit. Suta Goswami first explains the glories of Maharaj Yudhishthira and the glories of Maharaj Yudhishthira's reign over the earth. Suta Goswami then explains the vision of the Lord that Parikshit saw while still in the womb. Sukadeva Goswami narrates the birth of Parikshit and Yudhishthira's observance of Parikshit's birth ceremony, which was attended by learned Brahmanas who described the Lord's protection of Parikshit. In answer to Yudhishthira's inquiry about how Parikshit will compare to his ancestors, the Brahmanas glorify the future qualities of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit grows and his qualities develop under Yudhishthira's guardianship. Yudhishthira decides to perform a sacrifice to atone for his own sins. His brothers collect the needed money and Yudhishthira perform the sacrifice in the presence of Lord Krishna. Following this sacrifice, Arjuna returns to Hastinapur along with Lord Krishna. Chapter 13, titled as Dhritarashtra Quits Home. Vidura returns to Hastinapur after learning the science of the self from Maitreya Muni. Maharaj Yudhishthira questions Vidura about his travel, and Vidura, after replying, stays in Hastinapur for some time. While in Hastinapur, Vidura preaches to Dhritarashtra, his elder brother, to give up his material attachments. Vidura pushes Dhritarashtra to immediately leave home and pursue self-realization. And Dhritarashtra finally leaves along with his chaste wife, Gandhari, along with Vidura. When their absence is detected by Yudhishthira, he inquires from Sanjaya, Dhritarashtra's servant, about Dhritarashtra's whereabouts. Narada Muni appears and Yudhishthira questions the sage. Narada instructs Yudhishthira about the true situation of the living entity in this world. Narada instructs Yudhishthira to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who has descended upon the earth. Before Narada departs, he explains that Dhritarashtra, after going to the Ganges, will give up his body while performing mystic yoga. Chapter 14 is titled as The Disappearance of Lord Krishna. This chapter explains how the Maharaj Yudhishthir notices inauspicious signs, and he reveals to Bhimasena his fears that Lord Krishna, whom the Pandavas completely depended upon, has departed from this earth. And chapter 15 describes about the Pandavas retire timely. Arjuna, who is grief-stricken and overwhelmed, remembers Lord Krishna and begins explaining that Krishna, his dear friend, is now lost to him. Arjuna retails incident after incident how Krishna empowered and protected him and the other Pandavas. Arjuna then speaks about the intimacy of his relationship with Krishna and how in the absence of Krishna, he has lost his powers and has been defeated by some insignificant cowherd men. Arjuna then relates news of the destruction of the Yadu dynasty to Yudhishthira. Feeling great grief, Arjuna remembers Krishna's instructions and becomes situated in transcendence, beyond the modes of material nature. After hearing from Arjuna, Yudhishthira and Kunti decide to go back to Godhead. Similarly, Draupadi and the brothers of Yudhishthira also follow. Chapter 16 is titled as How Maharaj Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. Suta Goswami explains that once, as Maharaj Parikshit was reigning under the guidance of the Brahmanas, he punished the master of Kali Yuga, who was causing pain to a cow and a bull. Shaunaka Rishi inquires about the punishment of Kali and explains the glories of hearing about topics relating to Krishna. Suta relates that after Maharaj Parikshit perceives the influence of the age of Kali within his kingdom, he initiates a tour to defeat Kali. While touring, Maharaj Parikshit hears the glories of his great relatives, the Pandavas. Dharma, who is wandering in the form of a bull, questions the earth in the form of a cow about the cause of the earth's current miserable condition. The earth replies that her misery is caused by her separation from Krishna's presence and by an increase of Kali's influence due to Krishna's absence. Maharaj Parikshit then arrives. Chapter 17, The Punishment and Reward of Kali. Maharaj Parikshit challenges and threatens the low-class man dressed as a king, who is beating the cow and the bull. Maharaj Parikshit then questions and consoles the cow and the bull. The bull answers Maharaj's inquiries about the cause of his difficulties, and after hearing the bull's reply, Maharaj Parikshit recognizes the bull as the personality of religion and begins to reply to him. After Maharaj Parikshit completes his reply, and as he is preparing to kill Kali, Kali surrenders. Although Maharaj Parikshit spares Kali's life, he banishes him. Kali then requests a place where he can fearlessly live. Maharaj Parikshit gives Kali permission to dwell in 5 places, where there is gambling, where there is drinking, where there is prostitution and animal slaughter take place, and where gold is hoarded, all places with which Brahmanas and Sannyasis should never come in contact. Maharaj Parikshit drives Kali from his kingdom. He reestablishes religion and begins his rule. Chapter 18, Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy. Suta Goswami begins by describing Maharaj Parikshit's life, which contains wonderful dealings with Krishna. The sages glorify Suta Goswami and the importance of hearing about Krishna from great devotees. They then request Suta Goswami to describe the pastimes of the Lord, especially the topics upon which Maharaj Parikshit fixed his mind and thus attained Krishna's lotus feet. Suta Goswami first explains the process of purification through hearing about Krishna, and then begins explaining the exalted qualities of Supreme Lord Krishna. Suta begins narrating how Maharaj Parikshit insulted the sage Shamika Rishi by placing a dead snake around the meditating sage's neck. After Samika Rishi was insulted, his son Shringi cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die in 7 days. Samika Rishi lamented when he heard that what his son has done. Samika Rishi prays to the Supreme Lord to forgive his son for his foolishness. Chapter 19, titled as Appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. Maharaj Parikshit laments that he insulted the sage. When Maharaj Parikshit hears that he has been cursed for his offense, he begins preparing for his death. Fasting, he sits down at the bank of the Ganges and gives himself up to the lotus feet of the Lord. After hearing of the great king's plight, many rishis arrive. Maharaj Parikshit welcomes them and tells them of his decision to fast until death. The sages glorify the king's decision, and Maharaj Parikshit responds by inquiring from the sages about the duty of one who is about to die. After Maharaj Parikshit has made his inquiry, the exalted sage Sukadeva Goswami approaches the assembly. Maharaj Parikshit offers his respect, glorifies him, and then inquires about the duty of one about to die. Hare Krishna. This is the conclusion of Canto 1. And I just want to pause over here. Any questions, any reflections? Before I go on to Canto. Go ahead.
Sridhar Prabhu, beautiful narratives, very complicated, but you have refreshed the entire thing. Only I want to know the Brahmana boy's name. You said I couldn't hear properly.
Okay, so Shringi is his name, Prabhu. So the Muni's name, is Samika Rishi, and his son's name is Shringi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will move on to Canto 2. Okay, so Canto 2, Chapter 1, the first step in God realization. Sukadeva Goswami glorifies Maharaj Parikshit's questions, which he spoke at the end of Canto 1. I am therefore begging you, Sukadeva Goswami, to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. This is what Parikshit inquires with Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami, in answer to that question, glorifies hearing Krishna Katha and explains that the highest perfection life, regardless of the process one uses, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Therefore, he explains the topmost transcendentalists take pleasure in always describing the glories of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami continues to describe how he studied the Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Srila Vyasadeva, at the end of Dwapar Yuga. Although he was already situated on the transcendental platform, he still became attracted by the Bhagavatam's description of the Lord's pastime. Sukadeva Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj that he will now recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. He then glorifies the Bhagavatam, saying, one who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord. And after that, constantly chanting the Lord's holy names is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all. Maharaj Parikshit is to die in 1 week. After explaining that a short life with a moment of pure consciousness is superior to a long life wasted within matter, Sukadeva Goswami encourages Parikshit Maharaj by retelling how saintly King Khatwanga Maharaj, after being informed that the duration of his life would be only a moment more, at once freed himself from all material activities and in a moment took shelter of the Supreme Lord. Sukadeva Goswami thus assures Maharaj Parikshit that his remaining time is sufficient and that at the last stage of life, one should fearlessly cut off all attachments to all connected to one's body. He continues explaining that one should leave home and practice yoga for the purpose of remembering The mind should be withdrawn from sense activities and the mind fixed in the Lord's service, meditating on his limbs without being deviated from the conception of the complete body. One should focus the mind upon Lord Vishnu, which cleanses the mind of its lower tendencies. Through focusing on the Lord, one can very soon attain devotional service under his direct shelter. Parikshit Maharaj then inquires about how to apply the mind so that its contaminations will be removed. Sukadeva Goswami answers with an explanation of the practices of Ashtanga Yoga and that one, though using his intelligence, should apply one's mind to the gross potencies of the Lord, the Virat Rupa. In that manifestation, time is also experienced. Sukadeva Goswami next describes details of this meditation and that one who seriously describes liberation should concentrate his mind on the form of the Lord, because nothing more than this exists within this material world. If one does not concentrate his mind upon the Virat Rupa, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart. Citing previous authority for that which he has just prescribed, Srila Sukadeva Goswami describes how Lord Brahma regained his consciousness through meditation on the Virat Rupa, and by appeasing the Lord, Brahma was thus able to rebuild the creation. One should not become bewildered when studying the Vedas and think their purpose is to assist our attaining various sense enjoyments available throughout the universe. One, through superficial study, will not be able to understand the actual goal of the Vedas, attaining the supreme spiritual world. Knowing this, an enlightened soul should only endeavor while in this world for the minimum necessities of life. One should also become fixed in rendering higher service than meditating on the Virat Rupa. One should serve the Super Soul who is within one's heart and who is eternal, unlimited, and the ultimate goal of life. By worshipping him, one becomes free from conditioned existence. Only the materialist will neglect such thinking, especially after seeing that the mass of the people have fallen into the river of fruity world. Actually, one should meditate not on the Virat Rupa but on the Super Soul, who resides within the heart and measures only 8 inches. He possesses 4 hands and carries a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club. He possesses beautiful lotus eyes, yellowish garments, jewels, set ornaments, and garlands of fresh flowers. His lotus feet are placed over the hearts of the mystics who are fixed upon him in meditation. One thus should concentrate in meditation upon him, beginning from his lotus feet and progressing as the intelligence becomes purified to his smiling face. The purpose of meditating upon the Virat Rupa, as it was described in the previous chapter, is to assist our developing a service attitude to the Supreme Lord. To leave this world, a yogi should be fixed in absolute realization and thus extinguish all material desires. He should give up his body through yogic practice, while slowly pushing his life air upward from his navel to his heart. From there, the life air should be pushed to the chest, and from the chest to the root of the palate, and finally to the cerebral bone. He should then give up all material connections and go to the Supreme. And this is what the yogis go to Brahmaloka and then gradually go towards Vaikuntha Loka. This has been explained over here. Sukadeva Goswami continues to describe that this knowledge is exactly in accordance with the Vedic version and that it was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma. After hearing of the difficult and intricate path to the spiritual world through the practice of yoga, Sukadeva Goswami describes a different yet most auspicious means of deliverance: direct devotional service to Lord Krishna. That path was established by Lord Brahma as the actual Vedic knowledge, Vedic goal, developing an attraction for Lord Krishna. One should thus adopt the direct method of hearing about Krishna and after becoming purified, go back to Godhead to serve him in devotional service. The Lord is in everyone's heart and we are already fully dependent upon him. One can perceive this through his intelligence. It is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord. the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Hearers of nectarian Krishna Katha purify themselves of material desires and directly go back to Godhead. Sukadeva Goswami has now directly answered Parikshit Maharaj's questions about his duty at the time of death. Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. Srila Sukadeva Goswami explained that he has now answered Parikshit Maharaj's question as to the duty of one on the threshold of death. A thoughtful man should hear Krishna Katha. But what if one has other desires? Should one worship and fix his mind only on Krishna for spiritual attainments and for achieving material benefit? Should one worship demigods? As a prelude to answering this question, Sukadeva Goswami begins describing the proper personages to worship for having one's material desires fulfilled. One desiring to become absorbed in impersonal Brahmajyoti should worship Lord Brahma or Brihaspati. One desiring powerful sex should worship Indra. One desiring spiritual advancement in knowledge should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotees. And one desiring no material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But a person with broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must all by means worship the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead. All the different kinds of worshippers of the demigods can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Lord, only by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Transcendental knowledge about Lord Hari suspends the whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment. Being transcendental, it is approved by authorities who could fail to be attracted. Shaunaka replies and inquires about the further questions of Maharaj Parikshit after he had heard the conclusion spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. He then expressed his own eagerness to hear the Krishna Katha, which must have been the result of discussion between the two great devotees, Maharaj Parikshit, who was devoted to Lord Krishna from his childhood, and Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, who was full of knowledge. The great philosophers are those who get pleasure from glorifying Krishna in the company of great devotees. After glorifying the process of devotional service and condemning those who do not engage in devotional service, Shaunaka Rishi requests Suta Goswami to relate what was spoken by Srila Sukadeva Goswami in response to questions of Maharaj Parikshit. Chapter 4, the process of creation. Sukadeva Goswami describes how Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, after hearing the words of Sukadeva Goswami, fixed his consciousness on Krishna and fully detached himself from the material world and all fruitive actions. After glorifying the purity of Sukadeva Goswami, he continued his inquiries. Maharaj Parikshit requested Sukadeva Goswami to answer further 3 questions. How does the Lord create the universes which are inconceivable? Second question, how does the Lord engage his energies and expansions in maintaining and destroying the universes? Question 3, does the one Lord himself direct the modes of nature, or does he do this work through his expansions? Sukadeva Suta Goswami begins describing the reply of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami first remembered the Lord and then offered his respectful obeisances unto him, who accepts the 3 modes of material nature for the purpose of creating the whole world, and who is the complete whole and the inconceivable Lord residing within all. He offers his obeisances to the Lord again and again and glorifies him as the one awarding success to great philosophers, performers of charity, and chanters of Vedic hymns due to their dedicating their attempts to his service. The Lord is so powerful, the supreme pure, and thus even lower class persons can be purified by taking shelter of his devotees. Sukadeva then further offers obeisances and glorifications and requests the Lord to be pleased with him. Further requesting the Lord's mercy, Sukadeva Goswami acknowledges that it is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who gives liberation. Simply by thinking of him while following the path of authorities, a devotee can see the absolute truth. Again, praying for the Lord's pleasure upon him, Sukadeva Goswami requests that same Lord who had inspired Brahma with knowledge to decorate his statements. He then offers obeisances to Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Vasudeva and the compiler of Vedic scriptures. Sukadeva Goswami begins his reply to Parikshit Maharaj by saying that the firstborn, Lord Brahma, answered these questions, same questions upon being asked by his son, Narada Muni. Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes. Sukadeva Goswami narrates how Sri Narada Muni approached Lord Brahma and offered his obeisances. Narada then inquires about knowledge that directs one to the truth of the individual soul and the super soul. He then asks many questions about the material world, its background, its creation and maintenance, the source of Brahma's own knowledge and protection, and for whom does Brahma work? He inquires, do you create with your own energy? Do you have the help of others? Does someone exist more powerful than you? For I see that you perform austerities to please someone. Lord Brahma replies that unless one is able to perceive the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will surely be illusioned by observing his own powerful activities. Brahma then continues to describe that he is only able to create after the Lord has created. Lord Brahma then therefore offers his obeisances and meditates upon Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, whose invincible potency influences the less intelligent to think of him as supreme. It is Maya, Brahma explains, that bewilders all into being absorbed in thoughts of its I and its mine, Aham Mameti. Brahma explains that it is the Lord who creates the ingredients of creation and sets them in motion. The Vedas are meant for his pleasure, as are the demigods, planets, and sacrifices. All variety of meditation, austerity, culture of knowledge are means for realizing the Supreme Lord Narayana and for ultimately attaining salvation. Brahma says that he too is created by the Supreme Lord, and by his inspiration, he discovers that which was already created by the Lord. Brahma continues to answer that the Lord is purely spiritual, but yet he accepts the modes of nature for the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material world. From these modes, matter, knowledge, and activities manifest to put the eternal living entity under the law of cause and effect. The Lord himself, although indirectly dealing with the material world and its laws, is beyond the perception of the material senses of the living entities because of the above mentioned three modes of nature. He is the controller of everyone, including Lord Brahma. Brahma continues describing how he, the Lord, is the controller of all energies. He thus creates by his own potency, eternal time, the fate of all living entities and their particular nature. He again merges them independently within his own body. Brahma then explains the progression of the creation. First, the Lord, the first Purusha, Arandakashaya Vishnu, appears. Then, appearing one after another, the Mahat Tattva, the principles of material creation, time, and the three modes are generated. Due to the combination of these, activities are created. At first, false ego is transformed into goodness, passion, and ignorance. And from those transformations, material knowledge, material intelligence, and matter are generated. The creation progresses as each item already created further evolves. Mind is generated from goodness, along with the 10 demigods who control bodily movements. Passion is transformed into the knowledge, acquiring, and working senses, intelligence, and the living entity, living energy. After the universal elements were created, they were assembled into the universe by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The universes remained for thousands of ages within the causal ocean before the Lord entered into each of them as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu and gave them life. The Lord then assumed the Virat Rupa, the Lord's universal body, which is suitable to be meditated upon by great philosophers. In this form, the four Varnas represent his mouth, arms, thighs, and legs. Lord Brahma then describes all in material existence in relationship to the Virat Rupa, the 7 worlds, the material and spiritual worlds, the 14 planetary systems, the 3 planetary systems, all can be seen in relation to that universal form. Chapter 6, Purusha Sukta confirmed. Lord Brahma now recites prayers in support of Vedic mantras glorifying the universal form of the Lord. These prayers describe how the different parts of the Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, such as the mouth, skin, and tongue, are the generating areas that produce universal parts, such as the voice, the Vedic hymns, and the different foods required. Aspects of the Virat Rupa also produce shelter of all within the universe, such as his forward steps sheltering all 3 levels of planetary systems and his lotus feet freeing one from fear. From further parts of the Virat Rupa, the generative ingredients, death, frustration, ignorance, immortality, great rivers, great mountains, great oceans, the subtle bodies of the living beings, religious principles, truth and transcendental knowledge, animals, humans, birds, demigods, snakes, and all other varieties of living entities are generated. All these living beings are covered by the Lord's feature as time. But explains Brahma, the Lord is himself beyond all aspects of the gigantic Virat Rupa, and he exists in a transcendental, eternally existing form that does not exceed 9 inches. Brahma next glorifies the supremacy of the Lord and his realm by comparing him to the sun. For the sun, as does the Lord, expands his energies throughout the universe. Thus the Lord manifests everything by his immeasurable glories. He controls immortality and fearlessness, and he is transcendental to death and the fruitive actions of the material world. Deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from the anxieties of old age and disease exist in the kingdom of God, which is beyond the 3 higher planetary systems and the material coverings. This spiritual world, which consists of the 3/4 of the Lord's energy, is especially meant for those who will never be reborn. Others who are attached to family life and who do not strictly follow celibacy vows must live within the 3 material worlds. By his energies, the Lord masters both nescience and true knowledge and controls both matter and devotional service. Although all comes from him, he is aloof from matter, like the sun is separate from its rays and heat. Brahma then describes his own birth and from the lotus flower which grew from the navel of Lord Mahavishnu. He at the time wished to perform a sacrifice, but he had no ingredients other than the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead, the Virat Rupa. Brahma thus arranged the necessary ingredients and paraphernalia from the Lord's bodily parts, and gradually, by invoking the demigods' names, he attained Vishnu, the ultimate goal. Brahma described to Narada the sacrifices to please the Lord that were performed by the great sages, Manus, the forefathers, the learned scholars, etc. Brahma continued to describe how the Lord accepts the modes of nature on which the entire material manifestation rests. Yet he remains without affinity for them. It is by the Lord's will, said Brahma, that I create, Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself as Lord Vishnu maintains. Know it for certain, Brahma explains further to Narada that all is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma says, because I, Brahma, have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Hari with great zeal. All I say has proved true, nor is the progress of my mind ever deterred, nor are my senses ever degraded by temporary attachment to matter. Yet, although I am the great Brahma, perfect in many ways, still I cannot understand the Supreme Lord, the source of my birth. Therefore, I surrender unto his feet, which alone can deliver one from the miseries of repeated birth and death. What can others do when the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits? The greatest demigods cannot know him. What to speak of lesser demigods? We continued Brahma, being covered by Maya, even the manifest cosmos only according to our individual ability. What to speak of knowing the Lord? Let us therefore offer our respectful obeisances under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although we chant his glories, he can hardly be known fully as he is. Brahma describes how that unborn, supreme, original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, first expands as his plenary portion, Mahavishnu, Karanodakashayi Vishnu, who then generates this manifested cosmos. The creation takes place in him, and the material substance and manifestations are thus also only himself. He maintains them for some time and absorbs them again into himself. The Lord has no material tinges, is all pervading, and is unrivaled. He can be known only when one is free from all material anchorings, free from sense desires. Karanodakashayi Vishnu, the first incarnation, is the master of eternal time, space, and cause and effects. Mind, the elements, the material ego, the modes of nature, the senses, the universal form of the Lord. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the sum and the sum total of all living beings. All the demigods, as well as all other beings, both good and bad, may appear to be the form of the Lord or both or the form of truth, but they are not. They are only a fragment of the transcendental potency of the Supreme Lord. Brahma then states one after another the incarnations of the Lord known as Leela Avataras. He ends this chapter glorifying the process of hearing about these incarnations. Hearing of their activities counteracts all foul matters accumulated in the ears. These pastimes are pleasing to hear and are to be relished. Therefore, they are in Lord Brahma's heart. Chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. Lord Brahma first began to describe the 19 of the Lord's Leela Avataras and continues all the Avataras. And he next describes the incarnations of Lord Rama and the advent of the original personality of Godhead Krishna, who appears just to diminish the distress of the world. The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair and acts extraordinarily. He killed Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother and performed many wonderful pastimes when still a boy. He chastised Kalya, saved his cowherd boyfriends from a forest fire, and lifted Govardhana hill. He then explains that he himself, Brahma, as well as Vishnu, the Prajapatis, Lord Shiva, and the demigods, etc., are all different representative manifestations of the energy of the Supreme Powerful Lord. All the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the cosmos occurs by his incarnations and his potencies. That thus no one explains Lord Brahma can describe completely the potency of Lord Vishnu. Not the scientists, nor the sages, nor Brahma himself, nor anyone else. Even Lord Anantashesha, the first incarnation of the Lord, cannot fully describe the Lord's transcendental qualities. Those specifically favored by the Lord due to their pure surrender to him can cross all illusion. Brahma continues to explain that although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and unmeasurable, we nevertheless know that he acts through his Yogamaya potency. Lord Shiva, Prahlad Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu, and others also know something of the Lord's potencies, and anyone who surrenders unto him, even if he has previously been sinful, can also know the Lord to some degree and become liberated from illusion. Through the process of surrender and following the footsteps of the great Vaishnavas, one realizes true characteristics of the Lord, such as the Lord has no material qualities or contaminations and that illusion cannot stand before him. Having realized this, one needs not artificially control the mind or practice jnana yoga, or meditation. One should simply surrender with devotion and through surrender realize his eternal relationship with Krishna. Brahma then tells Narada that the science of God was spoken in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to him, and he then requests Narada to expand the science in such a way that it will be possible for human beings to develop their devotional service unto Krishna. If one hears, describes, or regularly appreciates the Lord's activities and those of his different energies with devotion and respect, one surely transcends the material and illusionary energy of the Lord. Chapter 8, Questions by Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit inspires Sukadeva Goswami to hear Harikatha and explain Narada Muni's preaching exploits. And then Maharaj Parikshit inspires Sukadeva Goswami to speak, and Sukadeva Goswami to answer all that he has inquired as well as not inquired. And Maharaj Parikshit asked many questions, including how the soul acquires his body. He inquires about the form of the super soul within everyone's heart and how the super soul acts within his energies, and he asks about the relationship between the demigods and the planetary systems with the universal form, Virat Rupa, about time and its effects, and so on, about Varnashrama and so on. Maharaj Parikshit continues by requesting Sukadeva Goswami to continue speaking and answering his questions. Chapter 9, titled as Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. And in this particular chapter, the Lord explains the Chaturshloki of Srimad Bhagavatam to Lord Brahma. And that is there in Canto 2. Canto 2, Chapter 9, 33 to 37 verses. Chapter 10, Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. And the 10 characteristics of the Purana are explained in this particular chapter. And Sarga, Visarga are also explained in this particular chapter. Okay. And in the interest of time, I'm just concluding this particular canto. Canto 2 concludes. Okay. Thank you. Any questions or any reflections? I'm just looking at the time. I think it's about close to 60 minutes. So I'm just trying to wind up in the next 15 minutes. Okay, I will continue on to Canto 3. Canto 3 is questions, chapter 1, titled Questions by Vidura. Shaunaka Rishi inquires from Suta Goswami about Vidura, for Shaunaka heard previously about Vidura's having met with Maitreya Muni while on pilgrimage. Canto 3 thus begins with Suta Goswami replying to Shaunaka about the meeting and discussion with Vidura and Maitreya Muni. King Dhritarashtra, overwhelmed by illusion, had not stopped his sons Duryodhana's deadly plots against the Pandavas. Dhritarashtra then asked advice from Vidura, and Vidura plainly told the king to give up his affection for Duryodhana, who was envious of Lord Krishna. However, Vidura is insulted, and Vidura quits home and then starts on a pilgrimage. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, Remembrance of Lord Krishna and the Lord's pastimes out of Vrindavan. Uddhava became ecstatic to hear Vidura's questions, for he had been a great devotee of the Lord since his childhood. Uddhava feelingly and briefly mentions the disappearance of the Lord and the Yadu dynasty from this earth, as well as Krishna's glorious appearance. While feeling separation, Uddhava began remembering the Lord's inconceivable activities while on this earth, including his birth and ending with his lifting Govardhana hill and his dancing with the gopis. Uddhava continued to narrate Krishna's pastime after leaving Vrindavana. Chapter 4, Vidura approaches Maitreya. Uddhava continues explaining the events leading to the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty, and then explained his meeting with the Lord just prior to his departure from this world. Uddhava followed the Lord after the Lord left Dwarka due to his intense feelings of separation. He later met the Lord as he saw the Lord sitting beneath a tree by the bank of the Saraswati river. Maitreya Muni, by his good fortune, arrived, and as the Lord spoke to Uddhava, Maitreya listened. Krishna affectionately told Uddhava that Uddhava would soon attain to Vaikuntha. He also mentioned that he had previously spoken Srimad Bhagavatam to Lord Brahma. This prompted Uddhava, whose only desire was to serve the Lord's lotus feet, to inquire about the Lord's inconceivable pastimes and the same transcendental knowledge the Lord had previously revealed to Lord Brahma. Uddhava told Vidura that he, after having heard the Lord's instructions, feeling great separation, was now proceeding to Badrikashrama as per the Lord's desire. Uddhava was about to leave for the north, and Vidura questioned him further about the instructions he had received from the Lord. Uddhava, who was younger than Vidura, requested Vidura to hear those instructions from Maitreya Muni, who both was senior and was nearby. Uddhava and Vidura spent the entire night, which passed as if a moment discussing the Lord, and in the morning Uddhava continued to Badrikashram. Parikshit Maharaj inquired as to why Uddhava, alone among the members of the Yadu dynasty, was requested by the Lord to remain in the world. Sukadeva Goswami then explained that the Lord felt Uddhava qualified to entrust with disseminating transcendental knowledge about the Supreme Lord. Vidura, after hearing from Uddhava about the appearance and disappearance of Lord Krishna from this world, proceeded to Haridwar along the Ganges bank and meet Maitreya Muni. Chapter 5. Vidura's talks with Maitreya. Vidura met Maitreya and inquired from him about the cause of real happiness and requested Maitreya to instruct him how to become sufficiently purified so that Lord would instruct him from within. Vidura then inquired about how the Lord incarnates and how he creates and maintains both the material and the varieties of living entities. Vidura next requested Maitreya to answer his questions in such a way that his words all have to do with Lord Krishna. He then glorifies the power of Krishna Katha and its medicinal effect on those who hear it, and again request Maitreya to speak about the essence of all topics about Lord Krishna. Maitreya honored Vidura's exalted position as an eternal associate of Lord and began describing how the Lord extended his transcendental position for the continuous creation, maintenance, and dissolution of cosmic world. Chapter 6. Creation of the universal form. The Lord heard from the demigods that the creation was suspended due to the elements not combining. He thus entered into the elements along with his external energy, time, Kala, who alone amalgamates all the different elements, and thus the living entities were again able to engage in activities. When the 23 principal elements were set into action, the Virat Rupa, the universal form of the Lord, came to existence. The Lord himself then entered into the elements, and they transformed into the gigantic form in which rests all the planetary systems and movable and immovable creations. The Virat Rupa, known as Hiranmaya, along with the living entities, lived on the water of the universe for 1,000 years. The demigods next entered various aspects of the universal form, and creation took place of the senses, the elements, sense, and mental power, places of the residence, ego, consciousness, Vedic wisdom, and the Varnas. These are all meant for worship of the Lord and self-realization under the care of a spiritual master. Maitreya then glorified the inconceivable Lord who possesses unlimited power. He then offered the Lord his respectful obeisances. Chapter 7. Vidura further inquired from Maitreya about the Lord's dealings both within and independent from the modes of nature. Chapter 8. Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu. Maitreya Muni began to reply, saying that he would now speak the Bhagavata Purana, which he heard in disciplic succession from the time when Ananta Shesha spoke it to the 4 Kumaras. Maitreya Muni had heard the Bhagavatam from the spiritual master Parasara Muni, who had heard it from Sankhya Muni, who had heard it directly from the 4 Kumaras. Maitreya began narrating how Garbhodakashayi Vishnu lay upon Ananta on the universal waters for 4,000 yuga cycles until the time was proper for the creation. Chapter 9. Brahma's prayers for creative energy. I will move forward on to chapter 10 is titled as Division of Creation. I will move forward on to the chapter wherein Devahuti inquires from Lord Kapila Dev. Okay, I'm just going ahead because in the interest of time. Sorry. So in chapter 25, the glories of devotional service, Devabhuti questions to Lord Kapila Dev. The questions that she asks, question number 1 is, dispel this illusion of aham mameti, explain about jiva and prakriti. And this is answered in the same chapter and in verses 12 to 27 by Lord Kapila Dev, saying that Adhyatmika Yoga and its description dispel the illusion of aham and mameti. And she further describes saying that Adhyatmika Yoga consisting of Sankhya Yoga, and Bhakti. And the pivotal role of the mind and symptoms of the liberated mind are explained. The only auspicious path is Bhakti, which is attained by association of sadhus. Characteristics and activities of the sadhus are also explained by Lord Kapila Dev. Sadhus association can gradually lead one to prema. Practice of jnana and yoga is incomplete without bhakti. Question number 2. What kind of bhakti will help to easily attain the Supreme Lord? And question 3 and 4 are explained jnana, yoga, and its limbs. Question number Question number 5 is explained. Question number 5's answer is explained by Lord Kapila in 29th chapter. Explanation of devotional service by Lord Kapila. Kapila describes various classes of bhakti, wherein he tells about performers of bhakti in the 3 modes, characteristics of pure bhakti beyond the 3 modes, angas of bhakti for the purification of the mind. Practice of these angas of bhakti gives rise to pure bhakti. And question number 6 answered by Lord Kapila Dev is nature of time. And that is explained. Okay. Okay, Prabhujis and Matajis, that's all from my end. I improve. And if I have unknowingly or unknowingly committed some offenses or anything, please forgive me. Hare Krishna.
Very exhaustive presentation, Prabhuji. It should have consumed plenty of mental energy and time in every word, and the essence you have really produced brilliant. How I wish that time gives you so much time to continue till in chapter Canto 3, chapter 44. Thank you so much.
Super, excellent. Any questions, comments, realizations for Sridhar Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhu, for enlightening us once again on all the 3 cantos. I am again reminded of relishing the Srimad Bhagavatam like a fruit touched by a parrot. So whatever number of times we keep hearing is so sweet and so nectarian. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, it is really refreshing, and feel like, as Gopal said, feel like hearing more and more, even though it is the same thing, but quite interesting. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for your excellent presentation with covering most of the 3 cantos, and it was really a refresher to remember again all the stories and all the pastimes of the Lord. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, very excellent. It made me remember all 1 hour, Prabhuji. That's good.
All right, all of you correctly pointed out, Sridhar Prabhu did a very exhaustive endeavor to refresh all of us across all three cantos in such a short time. And obviously, Sridhar Prabhu would have spent so much time and obviously would now remember so many points from all three cantos forever. You'll never forget. So I want all of you to take a step back and reflect. That couple months back, when I asked all of you to do this bigger presentation, all of you were like, no, 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 no. I am in anxiety. I am not going to be able to do this. Almost all of you said the same point. So I want you all to reflect. What was your experience with this presentation? Everybody should be able to reflect on this.
I could discover the mercy of Lord Krishna in enabling, though I was very skeptical about the container, the presentable visuals and operating and the devotional service rendered by Shalini Gopal Krishna was, I think, it is Lord Krishna's mercy. That's all in a nutshell I can say. And we could discover the potential. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. For me, I feel that definitely, yes, there was anxiety because, because normally the presentations are 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 10 minutes. So to present for 30 minutes and to keep everybody engaged, that was definitely a big, doubt. But when it's all, as Uncle mentioned, it's all Krishna's mercy. He gives, when we endeavor, he gives, his blessings and he makes it happen. And one thing is like, working in detail on a particular chapter, definitely what I have, it helps us to go in depth and so that definitely remains in us, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, even for me, it was really shocking when you said, I don't know how I'm going to do it. As you said, when we take real interest and do it, Krishna is always there to back up. That is proved by this, Prabhuji. Really, it is Krishna's mercy. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. During the process of we preparing for the presentation, it really gave us an opportunity to get connected to the Lord in a different way. Like we sometimes feel absorbed in his transcendental activities, which we would not have been experienced this otherwise. And second thing, listening to all others' presentations also gave us a different experience of each, the experience of each of the devotees of associates. So that also given another experience, and it's altogether. I would like to thank Prabhuji and all our associates. It's a wonderful experience. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very good. Everybody has an ability. Everybody was wondering how I would be able to do this presentation, but all of you have a unique ability which you used in your presentation. Very good. Anybody else? Any reflections?
Prabhuji, initially I thought I cannot do. Now I'll have to get rid of it, this one. The simple reason, listening to the class and reading in everything, we are bringing into memory. But reproduction, I felt, was not possible, I felt. And after hearing the associates, devotees' speeches and the preparations, and your encouragements, Prabhuji and Shalini was so helpful. How should I, where should I gather the information was very useful to me. And Partha Mama and Mami, Chandra Mami, they also called me. I said I didn't want to do, I wanted to apologize with you because, I was totally jittery to listen because I shouldn't err anywhere. I shouldn't give information and interpretation, which is irrelevant or unconnected. I was so much scared, but it took a long time. In fact, I have taken 2 days leave from my real job to frankly to tell you, Prabhuji, I've taken 2 days total immersed in that. I am preparing for it. Anyway, now I feel, I got more confidence, and then I feel I can talk to any neophytes. If they question me, yes, I can answer to certain extent. I'm not authority, but still, I knew little bit out of this. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Very good that you are so absorbed. My task is accomplished. Very good. So,
Prabhuji,
yeah, Mother,
today's presentation is for me impossible to possible, Prabhuji, because it is a summary of 3 cantos. I don't know how to do it, really.
Very good.
Like a story it was, from first to the end. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, very good. It's a story. All
Story.
Bhagavatam is connected. And Sridhar Prabhu did a very good job of going chapter by chapter and giving the context and how everything flew like a story. He was talking naturally. He wasn't putting any stress on himself. He was just talking naturally. This is how you do presentation. So 2 points I wanna point about Sridhar.
Prabhuji, before you give 2 points, I want to ask you a small clarification. What is your objective of giving this assignment to all of us?
To get you absorbed in Krishna. Were you all not absorbed in Krishna?
100%.
Yes, Prabhu.
Every minute, Prabhu.
Every second. I must tell you, 2 months we have spent when we went to our place in US. There also every day sieving, that is refining, because these are all established script-based details. We cannot manipulate or add, or if any clarification sought, you should be able to explain it. Reading from a book.
Yeah, and that was my purpose, that you were so absorbed, and just visualize that all of you did presentations. Not only the ones who did the presentation, but all of you heard so many topics across the 3 cantos multiple times. And as Gopal was probably properly explaining, that it is nectar that you heard this again and again and again and again, and you still relished. Uncle, does that answer your question?
You have answered in one word, that is called to establish Krishna consciousness always.
Very good. Shalini, Gopal had something to add.
No, Prabhu, this is what I wanted to again say, that definitely the 2 to 3 months from the time, to figure out the topic, and then it's complete immersion all the time thinking, Prabhu. Even if I'm cooking, doing anything else, and behind my mind is there like, okay, what am I going to do, when I'm going to do, how I'm going to do.
Yeah, so my task is accomplished. That at least Krishna is there in behind your mind somewhere. And visualize rest of the time when you are working or doing anything else. Is Krishna there? You all tell me, is Krishna there?
Yes. Prabhu.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Emphatic, yes.
All right. So if Krishna is there, then it is very good. But at least for me, it's not there. I'm just absorbed in the material world. So this is getting out of the comfort zone and to be absorbed in Krishna. Mother Jija had something to say.
Prabhuji, thank you.
Sridhar Prabhu, Kalyani had something to say.
No, Prabhu. I just wanted to. Hare Krishna.
This activity, through this activity, each concept or each point, whenever we wanted to listen or present, it gave an opportunity to understand it fully in the way that Krishna wants us to understand.
Yeah, very good. Correct point. That yes, that I've explained this many times, that when you listen to class recording, you retain a little. When you take notes, you retain more. But when you speak on the same topic, you retain the most. So the 2 points that I wanted to mention about Sridhar Prabhu's presentation is that if there was a slide, it would have been easier to follow. So if you recall many of my slides that I had shown during the presentation, there is a visual, or many of you also how you presented your respective presentations. There was a visual for each of your point, and that generally sticks on the audience. So try this to have a visual. Nothing wrong with the way Sridhar Prabhu did, and of course he had a massive task to do the presentation. But when you have a visual, look from the audience. The audience is generally not interested. So for the audience, for them something to take away or something to stick on them, it's that visual that you have for the topic that generally sticks on them. That becomes their takeaways. The second point about Sridhar Prabhu's presentation that I want you all to realize is that Sridhar Prabhu had much more to speak. But in essence of time, he skipped few points and then he stopped at a particular point. So next time you are on at a Sunday feast class or any class at the temple, you will realize the same thing, that it is time for Gopinath doors to open and the pujari is blowing the shank. Well, the speaker has to stop talking. Or the other option is that, okay, it's only 1 or 2 minutes left. I have to wrap up and give the essence of whatever is left over. And that's exactly what Sridhar Prabhu also did. So you should always have more points to talk about. And then when you are running out of time, you just summarize. So I also always do this, which you may not have realized up to now, that I generally have more points to talk about. But in essence of time, I will wrap up either in a summary form or just in just 1 or 2 points, just as what I have left over. And this is actually perfect. There is so much more to talk about. You can go on talking about Krishna consciousness forever. Anant Shesh is talking about Krishna consciousness from beginning of eternity, and he's going to continue to talk for eternity, and he's not going to get finished. So it's always okay to have more points to talk about. But as you are running out of time, just as what Sridhar Prabhu did, that you summarize the rest of the points or skip some points and come to some important points or the crux of what you are discussing. Everybody on the same page? Sridhar Prabhu, thank you for doing the amazing presentation today.
Thank you,
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji.
I want to tell you one more realization. I was thinking of you when every Saturday, Sunday, you make presentation to each class, just like a pigeonhole, because various classes are there. You have to prepare and you are delivering the message. As you said, you have more points, but still you summarize to keep up time. By the way, what Chandra Aunty and myself, we did individually, we timed our presentation because the essence should be covered and time factor is also an essence. And most importantly, the visuals we refined which visual we should select, which is very art, which is looking real or artificial. There is a website called Gemini.Google. It can create visuals what you want also, but we didn't select. But some of them we created. For example, Chandra Auntie's presentation is a senior lady presenting it. So anyhow, it was a massive exercise. Lastly, I wish to acknowledge with a sincere thanks to Sridhar Prabhu. As you rightly pointed out here, a lot of points. Regretfully, he skipped certain points to keep up the schedule, and hence they are all relevant and massive exercise. Massive exercise. I don't think I would have been able to do in such a way. Thank you, Prabhuji.
All right, you are correct that it's indeed massive endeavor, but we have to ensure that the audience stays interested in the context of what we are discussing. Otherwise, Krishna Katha is infinite. So from next week, we will start Canto 4. So I want all of you to read Canto 4, Chapter 1. It's a straightforward read. You probably will get overwhelmed with the volume of names in there. Don't worry, I will lay the overview and the context, but you just read through it rather than trying to get into detail. Just skim through and you will realize the voluminous amounts of names in that chapter. We are just about 9:15 a.m. Toronto time getting there. So you should again thank Sridhar Prabhu for ending it at the proper time so that we can end our class at the proper time. Are we okay to stop here?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sridhar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sridhar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.